You know, we're here in Hamburg, which not only is a center of commerce for Germany today, but was also a center of commerce throughout history, particularly in the Hanseatic League, which was a major trading and commercial group for many, many years. Can we talk a little bit about that and the money that they used during the period of the Hanse?
Yeah, since Hamburg was a major trading center, especially in the Hanse time and after this time, a lot of currencies within Hamburg were traveling around, and people had to trade with different silver and gold monetary units, and they had to calculate all the time, you know, Thaler and all these other things, and that was very complicated for the Hamburg merchants. And so in the 16th century, they started, how can we improve it? How can we make it more efficient? And they came up with a system that they said, okay, we take 3 Thaler, and out of 3 Thaler, we make 1 Mark Banco. And so it came up that about 8.5 grams silver would be 1 Mark Banco. And so now, when people came to Hamburg and started, you know, to trade, you wouldn't bother, you know, what currency that is. You would just take the coin, and you would see, oh, how much weight is this? And then you give it to the Hamburger Mark Banco, and they would say, okay, it's, for example, 250 gram, and so for 250 gram, you get this and this amount of Mark Banco. And so every time you knew, it's 1 Mark Banco, it's 8.5 gram of silver.
So the word mark is actually a measure of weight.
Exactly. The Mark Banco is a measure of weight.
And the weight in this case was actually silver, so the Hanse Group was basically trading in terms of silver.
Yes, right.
And
right.
What did it do for trade? Did it improve trade when they had this common currency for use?
Oh yes, the Mark Banco was so popular among the people that even merchants who were not located in Hamburg started using the Mark Banco, because it was much, much easier for them to calculate with different currencies. Mm-hmm. And so they had one common denominator, that was the Mark Banco. And so even merchants in Amsterdam, in Madrid, they were using the Mark Banco because it was such a was a reference, and you could very easy, you know, calculate your trade business.
What happened to it?
Actually, it ended when Bismarck took over Germany in 1870, and until 1870 we had in Germany we had a system, a gold and a silver standard. That's what we had, and actually most of the trades were done in silver. Silver was much more used and much more common in Germany, and then somehow Bismarck came up with the gold standard, and so they had to stop the Mark Banco, which was very successful for 250 years. Mm-hmm. And because it was so popular among the people, Bismarck figured, okay, if I call the new currency Reichsmark, the people, you know, will say, okay, yeah, we still have our mark, that's fine. And that's how he came up with Reichsmark, instead of, you know, saying Reichsthaler, which would be much more obvious and logic. But no, he came up with Reichsmark, and that's where the name Mark comes from the Mark Banco. And 250 years history of stable money of 100% silver standard, and that's very, very unusual. And as far as I know, the only example of a bank which throughout his entire history always kept a 100% silver standard. Yeah.
So clearly something that Murray Rothbard would agree with.
Oh yeah.
Non-fractional reserve banking.
And me too. Huh?
And me too. So when the Hanse was trading, what about its relationships beyond the league itself? You know, Amsterdam wasn't part of it, Venice wasn't part of it, but didn't the currency also circulate to those countries as well?
It wasn't a currency in the sense that you had a coin. So it was only what we call in German Buchgeld. It was an accounting standard, and the Hanseatic merchants in Hamburg, they only wrote it in their books. So you wouldn't even get a certificate. Mm-hmm. You know, it was just in the books of the banks. Mm-hmm. But there you knew that every time you could go there and say, I have this and that amount of money, give me the silver. And you could do it anytime you wanted. And the reason we know there was, during the 250 years, always a 100% reserve is by the time Napoleon came to Hamburg, and he looked down in the vaults, and he realized Hamburg was the only bank in Europe which had more than 100%. So he was looking in the books and he couldn't believe it, because he realized, hey, more than 100, I think it was 102%. And so this is why we know that they really kept the 100% in the vaults.
That's very interesting. You know, banking today really has two separate functions. It has the lending function and it has the payments function. But historically, you had two different types of banks, what I call banks of credit, which made loans, and banks of commerce, which were responsible just for the payments, and they didn't put the money in the bank at risk. They were more like vaults, which kept the money safe and secure. And that's what we're trying to do, you know, in Gold Money, create a payment system that's safe and secure. So perhaps the predecessor to Gold Money was the Mark Banco here in Hamburg.
You are the Mark Banco of the 21st century.
Using modern technology, though, because instead of doing record keeping through books and sending notices by the post, we're actually doing it digitally through your PC or through your Apple iPhone to make payments.